Divock Origi may have one of the most craziest careers out of anybody playing right now. He was a player who was never quite good enough to start for a top team like Liverpool, but when he got subbed on in crucial moments, he always delivered. He has single-handedly saved Liverpool in many high-stakes situations. It's actually kind of crazy. And he did all this coming off the bench, having at most maybe 10-15 minutes to play. So today we're going to go through and appreciate Divock Origi's unbelievable career. He was born in Ostender, Belgium, to a family of footballers. His dad, Mike Origi, played for the Kenyan national football team 48 times, and all his uncles played in the Kenyan National Football League professionally. He would play for the Genk youth team until he turned 15 when Manchester United came calling, but he decided to turn them down because he got a better offer, or an offer that he deemed that was better at least, in Lille. When asked about why he chose Lille, he said, "I saw Eden Hazard come through and these other players like Gervinho and Joe Cole. I thought I'd have the chance to go through there." It wouldn't take long for him to make his professional debut, as by the time he reached 17 years old, he made his professional debut against Troyes as a substitute, coming on as a sub and scoring his first ever goal in his first ever match. For the rest of the season, he got playing time here and there only as a substitute, which totaled up to 10 total matches in his first season as a 17-year-old. Lucky for Origi, he would see his role increase significantly by next season, playing in 30 total games with majority coming off the bench, but starting in 13 games and scoring a total of 5 goals. His strong appearance at such a young age, at just only 18 years old, put him on notice for international teams, with the Kenyan Football Association attempting to sway Divock Origi to commit for them. But Belgium had other plans and they called him up to represent for them in the World Cup 2014. And it was here in World Cup that he put the big teams in Europe on notice. For his very first appearance in the World Cup, he would come on as a substitute in the 58th minute, replacing Romelu Lukaku in a game that was 0-0 by the time he came on against Russia. And it stayed 0-0 until the 88th minute, where 18-year-old Divock Origi would score the game-winning goal to secure the groups for Belgium. This goal made him the youngest goal scorer of the tournament, also the youngest goal scorer in Belgian World Cup history, and also for his World Cup performance, he earned the Belgian Sportsman of the Year award. After the tournament, his stock was at an all-time high, and Liverpool decided to sign him for £10 million on a 6-year deal, but they decided to loan him back to Lille to get him some more playing time. Coming back to Lille, he struggled massively. He failed to score a goal in the first 1,277 minutes, and would only break that streak when he nabbed a hat-trick against Rennes. But in total that season, he scored 8 goals and 3 assists, but he was still bad enough to be placed in Ligue 1's worst team of the season that year. After the disappointing loan, Liverpool decided to keep him in squad instead of loaning him out yet again. He would earn his Premier League debut against West Brom, coming in as a substitute in the 79th minute in a game where Liverpool was down 2-1 until Divock Origi scored a stunner in the extra added time to draw the game and secure the game for Liverpool. For his second ever goal for Liverpool, he would score against Aston Villa 27 seconds after getting substituted, which was the quickest goal by anyone that season. And it was also the goal that caused the infamous clip of him getting kissed by a Liverpool fan. Divock Origi would be rewarded for his strong performances coming off the bench, with Jurgen Klopp starting him in the Europa League quarterfinals against Borussia Dortmund. In his very first match starting, he scored a crucial goal to turn the game 1-1. And to top that off, in the second game he would score another goal to help Liverpool come back from a 3-1 deficit. With his world-class performances against Borussia Dortmund, it seemed like Divock Origi was destined to start in the Liverpool starting 11. But shortly after the second match of the quarterfinals, something very unfortunate would happen to Divock Origi. In a Premier League match against Everton, Everton's defender Ramiro Funes Mori would put in a very dangerous tackle against Divock Origi, which caused him an ankle ligament injury that held him out for the rest of the year. This tackle was so bad that Rames Funes Mori earned a red card and a 3-match ban, and even had to come out in public apology to save face. But the damage was already done, and his strong momentum starting in Liverpool week in and week out was interrupted and ruined by this injury. By the end of year 1, he scored 7 goals and 2 assists, which is very respectable for a young player who got his season cut short by an injury. When he came back the next season, he looked a bit worse, with his blistering explosiveness just not being there anymore after the injury. so he still had to mostly rotate between starting and coming off the bench yet again. His playing time was a bit spotty at best, but when he did come off the bench, he made the most of it yet again. First scoring the opener goal against Sunderland as a substitute in a 2-1 win, and then he got his revenge against Everton, coming off the bench yet again in the 60th minute and scoring a goal shortly after to seal the game at 3-1. By the end of the season, he had a similar stat line to the previous season, scoring 7 goals and 3 assists in 14 starts and 20 substitute appearances. But it was clear as day that he didn't take the leap that most Liverpool fans and coaches wanted, and instead looked at just a bit worse compared to his pre-injury self. After the season, it was clear that he was going to struggle for playing time, with Liverpool bringing in players like Dominic Solanke, Mohamed Salah, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in the summer transfer window. So him and Liverpool decided that the best course of action for him to develop and improve as a player would be for him to be loaned out. And that's exactly what they did, with him being loaned down to the Bundesliga side Wolfsburg, with Wolfsburg expressing interest to make the deal permanent if he performed well. And the loan started off amazing for him, with him scoring 4 goals out of the first 9 league games for Wolfsburg. But his goals dried up after that, and after missing the easiest sitter of all time and Wolfsburg undergoing a manager change with Martin Schmidt replacing the previous manager Andreas Jonker, he was moved from striker to right wing, and that upset his rhythm at Wolfsburg. After moving to right wing, he looked noticeably worse, and he only managed to score 1 goal out of the next 17 total games. His lowest point would come against Hoffenheim, where he was hooked just 15 minutes into the game after having only 15 touches on the ball. To make matters worse, sporting director Olaf Reb even came out after the game to criticize Divock Origi and his performance, saying, "We'll discuss behind closed doors for what the reason was for his performance. This was not a good match from Divock. We need to make that clear. We need to analyze how those minutes could happen. This was not what we agreed upon during the week." After this event, it was clear that the relationship between Divock Origi and Wolfsburg was sustainably damaged, and there was no way they were gonna sign him. So after the loan, he came back to Liverpool. The only issue for Divock Origi was that Liverpool already had their front attacking trio cemented, with Firmino, Mane, Salah taking the Premier League by storm. There was no way Divock was displacing any one of those front three, as the chemistry they had was undeniable. As a result, he was limited yet again to sub appearances. But this might have been a blessing in disguise, because yet again, he shined this season in his substitute appearances. He continued to be a thorn in Everton's side by getting subbed on in the 84th minute, replacing Bobby Firmino in a 0-0 game and scoring the game-winning goal in the 96th minute off of a Jordan Pickford error. And heading into the second last game of the season, Liverpool were in a crucial title race against Man City, being 1 point below them level on games. The game was tied 2-2 as Divock Origi was subbed on in the 73rd minute, and it stayed 2-2 until Divock Origi scored the game-winning header in the 86th minute to put Liverpool ahead of Man City in the title race. However, Liverpool didn't have much time to celebrate, as just 3 days later, they would be taking on Barcelona in the final match of the Champions League semi-finals, being down 3-0. Since Bobby Firmino was injured, Divock Origi would get the chance to start in the Champions League semi-finals. He would start the game off scoring a goal in the 6th minute to cut Liverpool's deficit down to 3-1, and by the 75th minute, Liverpool had crawled all the way back to tie the series 3-3 until this historic moment happened. After this goal, his status as a Liverpool cult hero was cemented, and he even had a song made after him for his contributions to Liverpool Football Club. His fairy tale run wouldn't end there, however, as in the next game against Tottenham in the Champions League finals, he would score the second goal of the game as a substitute to make the game 2-0, which ultimately led to Divock and Liverpool winning the Champions League for the first time since 2004. However, unfortunately for Divock Origi, he would see a diminished role in the next season, as Klopp preferred to play smaller players up front as opposed to tall players like Divock Origi. However, his diminished role didn't hold him back, as he still continued his late game heroics. First, in a match against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup finals, he would score in the 62nd minute to tie the game 4-4, and then he would go on to score a crazy bicycle kick in added time to send the game into penalties, where Liverpool would eventually win He also continued this tradition of getting revenge on Everton, as he scored twice against Everton in a 5-2 win to extend their unbeaten league run to 32 games. By the end of the season, Divock and Liverpool accomplished the one thing they couldn't do last season: win the Premier League, and this ended the drought of the no title in 30 years. In the next season, he would see an even smaller role as talented attackers like Diego Jota and Luis Diaz joined the team. He still managed to score 3 goals and 7 sub appearances, with one of them being an added time winner against Wolves after getting subbed on in the 68th minute. And we're going to have a quick guess on their other team he scored on. Was it A, against Aston Villa, or B, against Everton, or C, against Manchester United? If you guessed Everton, you got it correct, because he scored on Everton for the 6th time in his career, this time coming off the bench, scoring a goal to put Liverpool up 2-0. But by the end of the season, it was clear that Divock Origi and Liverpool needed to go their separate ways. And as a result, it was agreed upon that Divock Origi would run down his contract and become a free agent in the summer. However, for his heroics and cult-like status, he got the Guard of Honor in the final home game of the season for all his contributions throughout the years. After leaving Liverpool on a free transfer, he signed with AC Milan. But Divock Origi has had a tough time adjusting to Serie A because he only scored 2 goals in a total of 35 matches so far. It's rumored that AC Milan is willing to sell Divock Origi, and there are multiple teams that are interested in him. Teams like Fenerbahce and other Turkish teams, with Burnley also interested. But however the rest of his career goes, it's clear that Divock Origi is an integral part of football history for his clutch moments he provided over the years.